this video, we'll talk about how to write destination data to a data volume in a container repository. Traditional Tonic data generation usually writes the destination data to a database server. From a database server, it's not always that easy for developers to get copies of that data to use for different testing scenarios. On a Kubernetes deployment of Tonic, including Tonic Cloud, to make that process easier, some data connectors offer an option to write the destination data to a data volume in a container repository. A container is a convenient tool that you can use to package and distribute test databases among teams and testing environments. Docker is one of the better-known platforms used to manage containers. Container artifacts provide much more flexibility for data sharing than a database server, especially when combined with Tonic subsetting. For example, after you generate a subset to a container volume, you can share that volume with your development team. Each developer can then use the volume to create a container in their local environment to use for development and testing. Each environment is isolated with its own copy of the generated data. Developers can also easily reset the data whenever they need to. To start a new round of testing with fresh data, they simply download the volume again. So how do you get Tonic to write the data to a container repository? If the Workspace Data Connector supports the container repository option, then under Destination Settings, choose Container Repository. Next, from the Database Image drop-down list, select the base image to use to create the data volume. The base image includes the required database software. Select an image that is compatible with your source database. Next, provide the repository location where Tonic writes the volume. Specify the registry and the repository path. Then provide the credentials for Tonic to use to read from and write to the container repository. You can use the username and access token. On self-hosted instances, you can also use the name of a Kubernetes secret. Finally, you configure the tag values to assign to the artifacts. Press Enter after each tag. Tonic provides built-in variables to use in the tags, including the workspace name and ID, job ID, and the data generation timestamp. You can also indicate to tag the artifacts as latest. When you select the Generate option for the workspace, the Confirm Generation panel displays the tag configuration. From there, you can customize the tags for that specific data generation job. Tonic generates the destination data and then writes the volume to the configured container repository path and applies the configured tags. So after Tonic generates a volume, how do you get access to it? To help you obtain and use the data volume, Tonic provides access to the data volume digest and to a Docker Compose file. You use the digest to download the data volume from the container registry. The Docker Compose file template helps you to stand up a database with a volume mount that uses the data volume. On the Job History view, the Container Artifacts tab lists the data volumes that Tonic generated for the workspace. The details for each container artifact include the job identifier, the assigned tags, and the container registry and repository location. From the Details panel, you can copy the volume digest and download the Docker Compose file. And that concludes our overview of how to write destination data to container artifacts. To learn more, check out our other videos, our blogs, or the Tonic product docs.